So, where are you heading? Ontario. I know it's a bit of a drive, but my sister is going into labor. No problem. And congratulations. Thanks. Hey, the radio work? Sadly, it's out of order, bud, but, hey, if you're interested, I got a story to pass the time. Uh, okay. Alright. My dad told me this story, and I thought it was scary ever since I was a little boy. There's a nun on her way to a small town in Montana, on a Cheyenne reservation. She was supposed to be at a church meeting and was running a little late. It was very dark outside, and she was worried that it was getting way too late. She believed in God and wasn't afraid of anything. Well, almost anything. She was getting very tired, and as she turned to glance at her car's radio clock, it was 10:15 p.m. When she looked back at the road, she saw a figure standing there. She wanted to drive by, but she was trusting and thought she could use the company of a stranger. As she pulled over to the side of the road, this man walked over to her side of the car. He was a pale white tall man, and wore a huge overcoat and a big black hat. Excuse me, sir. Do you want a ride? He looked down upon her and smiled. Why, sure. Where are you going? She didn't like the way he sounded, but she was polite to him. I'm heading to the church in Busby. Are you going that way? Yes, he said, as he got into the back of the car. Thank you for stopping. Usually no one stops for hitchhikers this late at night. She smiled and felt like she had known him well. All the way to Busby, she told him about her faith, and what she did. He listened, and once in a while laughed a bit. He usually laughed after she had spoke about God. She thought he was agreeing with her, so she said nothing and thought a little about it. He had told her that he came all the way from across the country. He came from somewhere in Mexico and had an appointment with some of his good friends. As they finally approached this hill, which was close to Busby, he asked her to stop. Are you sure? I could take you to your friend's house. As he got out, he replied, No, I'll be good right here. I'll walk. Actually, I have someone coming for me, right near this spot. Are you sure? She asked, as she had seemed to like his company. No, but thank you, Clarice, for the ride. He smiled at her and then walked down the road. And she wondered. She never told him her name. She got out of the car and looked down at the tracks he left and screamed. Where his footprints were. They were hoof prints. She drove into Busby, arrived at the church, and told the priest about what had happened. She showed him her car, and in the back seat, there was a devil's sign. The next morning, she was found dead in her car, right where she had stopped to drop the hitchhiker off. Pretty cliche, don't you think? What do you mean to say? Well, the old pick up the hitchhiker and he turns out to be evil is kind of an old one, isn't it? I think you're focusing on what's not important about the story. You're ignoring the lesson that it gives. Oh? And what is that? Don't pick up strangers off the road? Well, actually, don't trust a stranger. And especially, don't get into a stranger's car. Farewell, fellas.